What's going on, Colts fans? Welcome to today's episode of Colts Latest. I am your host, Scott Reiman, coming to you from sunny and beautiful San Rafael, California, here in Marin County in the fantastic Bay Area. I went and did like a 10-mile walk around Lake Merritt in Oakland earlier today. It was just gorgeous, but I digress. Before we get started today, as always, thank you so much to FanArch. Without them, this would not be possible. Check out their website, fanarch.com. Besides NFL content, they've got great content on MLB, NBA, sports card collecting, college sports, WWE, boxing, UFC, you name it, they cover it. Check them out, fanarch.com. If you like what you see here, please like this video and subscribe to the Colts Latest channel so I can keep putting out Colts content for you as the offseason continues to heat up. Now, I know I said that I was going to get into some post-combine draft talk today, but I think that's going to have to wait until Monday. I've been thinking about this Alec Pierce situation a lot, and there are a few things that I want to touch on. So if you've been under a rock or away from civilization for the past 48 hours, we're still dealing with the fallout from the Alec Pierce interview with Kay Adams, where he appeared to make it pretty clear that he was going to explore free agency and that he was looking for an opportunity to be a clear wide receiver one, and that he's expecting 130 to 150 targets as that wide receiver one. Now, in comparison, Michael Pittman Jr. got 111 targets last year, and only 8 wide receivers received more than the 130 targets that Pierce is looking for, plus 1 tight end in Trey McBride. But listen to this list: Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Puka Nacua, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Chris Olave, Justin Jefferson, Wan'Dale Robinson, and George Pickens. Now, outside of Wan'Dale Robinson, who was forced into that kind of target share due to the injury to Malik Neighbors and really no other options on the Giants, plus they were behind a lot, so they had to throw more often, and maybe Chris Olave, who faced a similar lack of competition for targets and consistent trailing in games in New Orleans, other than those two guys, Alec Pierce's name doesn't seem to belong with the rest of those guys. The fact is, Pierce wants to get paid like a top 10 receiver. He wants the targets of a top 10 receiver, and I'm not sure the Colts are going to be able to give him the money or the targets that he wants. Now, the one thing that could open all of this up would be if the Colts traded or released Michael Pittman Jr., and I'll get to why exploring a trade might be a good idea in a little bit. But if the Colts moved on from Pittman, then that would not only free up the money for Pierce, but also the targets that are required to make him happy. The question is, do the Colts think Pierce is ready and capable for that kind of role in the offense? Do you? Do you think he's capable of being a wide receiver one in the Colts offense? And Pierce faced a lot of double teams last season, often getting the best of them, but he rarely faced the opposition's best cornerback. Would getting the attention that a wide receiver one gets from the opposing defense be something that Pierce can overcome? I'd wager that he could win a lot of one-on-one battles versus opposing teams' top corners, but without Pittman on the field, defenses would be able to pay a lot more attention to Pierce. It's hard to give wide receiver one money and wide receiver one targets to a player who's never been a wide receiver one in his career, especially when there are other holes to fill on the offense and defense. Sure, if the Colts were fortunate enough to have multiple starters still on their rookie deals and not as many roster holes to fill, then just give Pierce whatever he wants. Tell him you'll give him 4 years, $120 million, and just lock him in so he doesn't even reach free agency. But unfortunately, that's not the position the Colts find themselves in. They have lots of starters already locked into pricey vet contracts, and they have multiple holes on the roster to fill. Think about what $30 million could do for this roster spread out over multiple positions. There are so many ways that the Colts could improve this team with an extra $30 million, and I'm going to go over just a couple. So the obvious one involves a player who's been linked to the Colts plenty of times so far this offseason, and that is the number one free agent on many analysts' boards, former Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson. Now, I mentioned yet another article yesterday that had the Colts as the best fit for Hendrickson, but while the Colts might be the best fit for him, is he the best fit for the Colts? Now, the upside of the argument is that pass rush is one of the top areas of need on the roster, and Hendrickson gives you the best chance of getting a guy capable of recording 15 plus sacks as he did just 2 seasons ago. He'd be an immediate upgrade from Kwity Paye and would allow the Colts to let Paye and most likely Tyquan Lewis and Samson Ebukam go. Trey and Laiatu Latu would be 3 down players, and the attention that Hendrickson would receive could really open up things for Latu to continue to take the next step in his development. In addition, it would allow the Colts to look elsewhere on day 2 of the draft. Now, I'd still fully expect them to take a linebacker with their 2nd or 3rd round pick, but if they lose Pierce, then they may look at a wide receiver on day 2 in what is considered a deep wide receiver class. So then the question becomes, would you rather have Pierce and a rookie defensive end or cheaper veteran free agent? Or would you rather have Trey Hendrickson and a rookie wide receiver? For me, it's really kind of a toss-up, but I think if those are the choices, I'd rather retain Pierce at $30 million and try to build up the defense through the draft and free agency. Now, the downside of making this move is that it comes with the same issues as signing Pierce does, and that's that it doesn't really allow the Colts to address multiple positions, and they're putting most of their free agent eggs into one basket. The money that would be spent to get Hendrickson could be spread out to different positions in areas of need on the roster. In addition, Trey would likely cost more than Pierce, probably by around $5 million a year, and that $5 million could go towards shoring up the linebacker group. Finally, let's not forget that Hendrickson's 31 years old and he's coming off of season-ending core muscle hip surgery. It's not a guarantee that he'll be able to return to his 2024 form where he led the league with 17.5 sacks. Betting on that is almost as big of a gamble as betting that Alec Pierce would have success as a wide receiver 1. As much as Trey Hendrickson would help the front 7, there's another route that I think would be more beneficial to the roster as a whole. Now, I've been saying that the Colts should use the money that they would pay Pierce and spread it around to different positions of need. But what could that look like? Well, without Pierce, what would be the biggest areas of need for the Colts? I'm thinking wide receiver, defensive end, and linebacker. Now, I think the Colts could get solid contributors at each of those positions for the amount of money it would cost to sign Alec Pierce. At wide receiver, I mentioned Tyreek Hill on Facebook and was met with a chorus of boos, and probably understandably so. But what about a guy like Rashid Shaheed? Before he got traded to Seattle from New Orleans halfway through the season, Shaheed was on pace for 83 catches and 943 yards, numbers that would be more than respectable as a 3rd receiving option behind Michael Pittman Jr. and Tyler Warren. His skill set doesn't compete with what current Colts receiving options do best, and he'd replace Pierce as a deep threat, opening up the middle of the field for Pittman, Warren, and Josh Downs. Now, we know he's a burner returning punts and kickoffs, and his addition would give the Colts the most dangerous return man they've had in years. His speed also allows him to be used in different ways on the field, whether through screen passes or end arounds. Just get this guy the ball in space and watch him go. I personally would love to watch Quentin Nelson pull down the line and pave the way for Shaheed to do his thing before just burning the defense. Now, Shaheed's projected contract is at around 3 years, $42 million, or about $14 million a year. That would leave the Colts with $16 million to spend from the $30 million that they'd save from not signing Alec Pierce. So that brings us to defensive end. As we've discussed before, there are plenty of veteran free agent options at defensive end out there. Vets like Jadeveon Clowney, Von Miller, and Dante Fowler Jr. could be had on 1-year deals that would probably cost the Colts $5 to $6 million. But the guy I'd have my eye on is Cameron Jordan. Cameron Jordan has been a New Orleans Saint for his entire 15-year career, but it was recently announced that the team would not be re-signing him, sending him to free agency. Now, while it looked like his career was nearing the end last season as he only recorded 2.5 sacks through his first 9 games, he finished strong, recording 8 sacks in his final 8 games for a total of 10.5 on the season. Hearing him talk at the Combine, he clearly has juice left in the tank and no shortage of desire. Cameron Jordan could probably be had on a 1-year deal between $6 and $7 million, and he would be an amazing mentor to Laiatu Latu. adding a potential Hall of Famer to a defensive line that already has one in DeForest Buckner would not only pay dividends on the field, but off the field as well with his leadership and experience in the locker room. Many times, these vets who are looking for one-year deals at the end of their career want to play for a Super Bowl. And having just left New Orleans, I'm sure Cameron Jordan is no different. That's where it's up to Chris Ballard, Carly Ursay-Gordon, Shane Steichen, and Lou Anarumo to convince one of these veterans that the Colts could be that team. So signing one of these vets for around $6 million leaves us with $10 million from the $30 million we've saved from not signing Alec Pierce. And that brings us to linebacker. And if you've watched my shows before, you know that I'm a Badger, and I'm a big fan of former Chiefs linebacker Leo Chenal. This guy is one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL, and he would be a perfect fit for what the Colts are currently lacking on defense. The guy is a ball hawk who can do it all and do it all well. He's great at the point of attack, getting into the hole and stopping the run before it reaches the second level. He can drop back into coverage and guard tight ends and bigger wide receivers, which is definitely something the Colts linebacking core has been lacking. He can get after the QB if asked to, although that's not really the main part of his game. But best of all, he's expected to be a steal at around $5 million a year, and he's only 25 years old. If the Colts were to add Chenal and then use their second-round pick on someone like Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker group would be head and shoulders better than it was last year. And they'll be set up for the long term with two potential studs, one on a rookie deal and the other on a steal of a 4-year, $20 million contract. So in this scenario, it's Alec Pierce versus Rashid Shaheed, Cameron Jordan, or another vet defensive end, and Leo Chenal. Look, I love Alec Pierce, but that second option is hard to turn down. Those are three players who could make immediate impacts for the Colts, filling multiple areas of need. Look, really what I'm trying to do here is talk myself into being okay with the Colts letting Pierce go. And if the plan B is to get the three players I mentioned or one similar, then I think I'd prefer plan B, to be honest. Look, no matter what, the Colts are going to be active in free agency, and next week could be a wild ride. All right, before we go, there was a trade announced, and trades can't go through until the league year begins next Wednesday, but it's been agreed to. And that trade has indirect ramifications on what the Colts might do with their wide receiver room. The Bears are sending wide receiver DJ Moore and a 2027 fifth-round pick to the Buffalo Bills for a 2026 second-round pick. DJ Moore and a fifth for a second-round pick. Now, the first ramification this has for the Colts is that it seemingly takes away one of Alec Pierce's potential suitors. On the Up and Adams show, Kay kept asking Alec about what it would be like to play in Buffalo with Josh Allen and how much they'd love to have him there. But with DJ Moore's $23 million a year deal, I can't imagine that they would be looking to add Pierce as well. Now, AP will still have no shortage of suitors, but if you want to see the Colts re-sign him, then the fewer competing teams, the better. But my main takeaway from this trade is, wow, the Bears got great value for DJ Moore. With the wide receiver free agent market being pretty thin, teams might look toward the trade market to make their wide receiver additions. And if this is what the market's going to look like, the Colts should be well advised to see what they can get for Michael Pittman Jr. If the Colts could get a second-round pick this year for MPJ and a future fifth, I think that would be something worth exploring. That would free up both salary and targets for Alec Pierce while giving the Colts an extra day 2 pick in a draft with a deep wide receiver class, as I mentioned. If trading MPJ allows the Colts to re-sign Pierce and draft his replacement while also giving them extra cap space to address needs elsewhere, I think the Colts would be foolish not to consider it. Now, last week, Chris Ballard certainly made it sound like Pittman wasn't going anywhere, but that was before the Bears got that second rounder for DJ Moore. If that's what the trade market is going to look like for wide receivers this offseason, the Colts might get an offer for MPJ that they just can't refuse. All right, everyone, rest up this weekend. Monday begins the legal tampering period, where deals that can't be signed until Wednesday start to get announced. As I said, I anticipate a wild week for the Colts. That said, they probably won't do anything next week, but hopefully it's a week filled with moves that we can all agree will benefit the team, but that's not likely. All right, have a wonderful weekend. Make sure you check out fanarch.com. Please like this video and subscribe to the Colts Latest channel, and let's go Colts!